On the last part, Demon King Piccolo desperately launches a Ki Blast at Kid Goku, who was flying straight into the air towards him. Kid Goku had no way to dodge the Ki Blast. However, suddenly he transforms into Ultra Instinct, allowing him to dodge the Ki Blast and kill Demon King Piccolo once and for all. Afterwards, Kid Goku makes his way to Kami's lookout in order to learn how to harness his power. However, despite the 3 years of intense training that he put in on Kami's lookout, he was still unable to harness Ultra Instinct at will. However, he was pushed to activate Ultra Instinct in the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai once more, allowing him to prevail over Piccolo Jr. So now we move off into the Saiyan saga where Raditz abducts Gohan. Goku turns into Ultra Instinct once again, allowing him to defeat Raditz, and Raditz immediately flees away, not knowing that his brother possessed such power. Raditz, who was in awe of Kakarot's power, decides to call for some backup, none other than Vegeta and Nappa. He tells Vegeta and Nappa of this mysterious power that Kakarot possessed. Vegeta and Nappa had their interest piqued and decided that they would go over to Earth in 1 Earth year's time. However, without prior knowledge of the arrival, will the Z Fighters be able to defeat the Saiyans? Well, we have to find out today on Dragon Ball Z. After their brief encounter with Raditz, a certain someone comes over to find the Z Fighters. This person is none other than Piccolo Jr. Piccolo Jr. tells Kakarot that Raditz was still out there and they needed to work together in order to defeat him, especially because that technique that he uses was so unreliable, and that despite training so many years, he was still unable to harness it at will. However, due to the vast difference in their power, they all go on their separate waves, with the 3 humans moving over to Kami's lookout to receive training from Kami. Meanwhile, Goku and Piccolo decide to train together as well as train Gohan. However, one thing to note is that Gohan never unleashed his full latent power against Raditz in this version of the story. So Goku and Piccolo are completely unaware of Gohan's latent power, so they won't be focusing on him too much, causing him to be slightly weaker than in canon. So, after training for a 1.5 years, the 2 separate groups have made significant progress. So you might ask, why 1.5 years? Aren't the Saiyans supposed to be coming in 1 year time? Well, this is because they don't actually know about the Dragon Balls, and even though they're interested in Kakarot and his weird technique, they don't really think it's a top priority. So during their trip over to Earth, they make some pit stops to destroy and defeat some planets. So the Z Fighters get to have half a year extra of training. Yamcha, Krillin and Tien are all around the same power levels. Meanwhile, Goku, Gohan and Piccolo are all significantly stronger than in canon in their base power levels. Of course, the only exception is Gohan, who is not that much stronger because he wasn't really the focus of their training. So the Saiyan power levels are actually slightly higher as well, with Vegeta at a better power of 17,000, Nappa at 4,500 and Raditz at 4,000, who has also begun his own training in order to defeat Kakarot and the Earthlings. The fight goes significantly different in this version of the story, as Gohan, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan as well as Krillin all gang up against Nappa. Meanwhile, Piccolo himself faces off against Raditz, while Goku faces off against Vegeta. So the fight against Nappa was actually pretty one-sided. With all the 4 of them ganging up on him, Nappa has a hard time fighting all of them off, as their punches and kicks and headbutts were all timed perfectly. Meanwhile, while the 3 were distracting Nappa, Krillin was at the back charging a secret technique. This secret technique is none other than the Destructor Base, or the Kienzan, whatever you want to call it. As Nappa was distracted by the consecutive attacks, he did not see the Kienzan until it was too late, as the Kienzan cuts him straight into half, killing him. Meanwhile, Piccolo's fight against Raditz was also pretty one-sided as well. Piccolo was slightly stronger than Raditz in his base power level and had way more skill and technique than Raditz, who only knew how to use brute force. Therefore, Piccolo was able to defeat and overwhelm Raditz, not killing him though, just incapacitating him. Unfortunately for Goku, this fight was the hardest by a mile. Vegeta was still ahead of Goku in terms of his base power level, and Goku was beaten to a pulp, and without the usage of the Kaioken, he was unable to even land a scratch on Vegeta. Vegeta laughed mockingly at Goku, about to end his life once and for all. Didn't find much pleasure in the fight. However, he was briefly distracted by a barrage of key attacks coming from the Z fighters. Vegeta dodges and immediately launches a Gallic gun back towards them. The two beams clash with much force, shaking the entire Earth. However, Vegeta was quickly overwhelming the Z fighters' blast, and as the blast was about to obliterate the Earth as well as Z fighters, Goku knew he had to do something. He couldn't just stand by and let the Earth be destroyed. Suddenly, all the Z fighters disappeared from Vegeta's eyes. Vegeta was very confused. They all just vanished out of thin air. As he takes a look around the area, he realizes that it was Goku who had saved them, seemingly in a new form once again, the form that Raditz warned him about. This was the first time that Goku had transformed into Ultra Instinct out of his own will. And now, we will see him face off against Vegeta. Will Goku be able to defeat Vegeta in this form? Well, you have to find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.